What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Hydroponics and Friends. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Talal. He is an amazing person that works in the cannabis industry. He works and he's the co founder of Fume Labs and Fume Extracts, which I just recently started trying some of their products in the PAX era and PAX era pods, and I'm excited to try their extracts very, very soon. How are you, Talal?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is kind of cool because I recently kind of switched into getting into the cannabis industry, uh, and it's been so cool. And I got to meet so many people in a very short period of time. And this is kind of how we ended up here through LinkedIn and just by working at a couple of dispensaries. So to start, I just kind of want to go into like a little bit of who you are, and if you can run us through maybe like your childhood, your parents, and the dreams as a kid to start. Go ahead.
All right. So I'll start, I guess, right from the beginning. So my family's Jordanian. That's where we're originally from. However, I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee. And from there, my parents moved to Switzerland. My dad was in the pharmaceutical industry. So being part of Big Pharma, obviously I grew up around a lot of science and manufacturing in the house.
Hmm.
And then after Switzerland, my parents moved back to Jordan when I was around 4 years old. And my dad started a generic manufacturing company back there. So I was around a lot of like pharmaceutical industrial manufacturing at the time. And I got to learn a lot from seeing that growing up, just how to select the right equipment, how to design a facility to process things, how to create a clean space, how to operate in a very regulated GMP environment. So that's when I got my initial exposure to that. And my whole life, just because like my family goes back 4 generations in the pharmaceutical industry, I thought I was going to be joining as well.
Right.
So long story short, grew up in Jordan, always thinking I was going to be involved in the healthcare sector somehow. Eventually got into university in Halifax, Nova Scotia, left Jordan, got to Halifax, and that's actually when my 18th birthday was, a month after I landed in Halifax. And
Hmm.
on my 18th birthday, someone gave me a joint. That was a birthday present. And that was actually my first interaction with weed.
That's
That was the
amazing.
first joint I ever smoked. That was the first time I've ever seen weed.
How was your
And
experience with
honestly,
that first joint?
well, I fell in love right then and there. You can see where I am today. So that
Right.
was exactly about 11 years ago today. In
Amazing.
September, actually, it will be 11 years. And yeah, 11 years later, from smoking my first joint, I'm already creating cannabis products and like putting them on market, which is pretty incredible.
Full circle. That's pretty incredible.
Exactly, full circle.
Okay, so tell me like your parents. How were your parents growing up? Were they the type of parents that kind of told you, "Oh, well, you got to follow our steps," or are you free to do whatever you want? And by looking at them, you kind of figured you kind of wanted to go on the same path?
Yeah, so they've always been like, you can do whatever you want, which is
Okay.
what they always said. But
Yeah.
it was always like kind of an unsaid thing where like we built this company, we have all of this for you, and you're supposed to come in after and be the next generation to operate this.
Right.
So the expectation was definitely there, even though it wasn't really like they didn't say it very clearly, but like we always felt the expectation was there for my parents, me and my
Hmm.
brothers, and I did like when I was in university, I found weed, but like I was still on a path for going back and working for them. So I did medicinal chemistry and drug design.
Right.
So I specialized in things that were helping me get into the pharmaceutical industry eventually.
Hmm.
But eventually, when I did my MBA, I got an internship in a company called Metrum Healthcare, which was one of the first licensed producers in Canada. And at
Okay.
the time, I was like, okay, I'm going into the pharmaceutical industry. That seems like a healthcare company. That seems like it's going to be right down my alley.
Right.
And I started working there, and no one even knew I smoked weed at the time. I was still a closet pothead. And I started working on the finance side. So from there, about 3, 4 months in, I started bringing in SOPs from my family's business on the pharmaceutical side to help streamline the cannabis company
Hmm.
and actually professionalize them and put in some efficiencies. So I got distribution numbers up quite a bit. I cleared out a lot of bottlenecks, and during my 8 months there, I helped them increase their revenue by about 300%.
Damn.
Um, so after that, I kind of built a reputation for myself as an operator.
Right.
Um, and then from there, I left that company because they got sold to Canopy. And I didn't want to be part of a big organization. I was still very young. I
Hmm.
was trying to make my mark. And if I had gone into a multi-billion-dollar company, I feel like I would have lost the ability to like be as well, to get noticed as much as I am right now.
Yeah, you would have put a
Um,
glass ceiling on yourself.
exactly, and I didn't want to do that. Like seeing how new the industry was, I always felt like I would be doing myself a disservice by not going for the smallest companies where I can make the biggest impact.
Yeah, being an innovator instead of just a pawn in the.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. I
gotcha,
never wanted to be told what to do. I never really
gotcha.
wanted to be in a position where like someone else was making the calls. I wanted to be in a spot where like I got to make the calls. I've been looking at this industry for the past 10 years. So like I've identified a lot of gaps in places where like I think there's a lot of value to be gained
Right.
from here. And I wanted a way where like I got enough autonomy to be able to do that. And
So,
Fume finally gave me the ability to do that. So just to give you a bit of background about Fume Labs, Fume is
hmm,
actually owned by Humble and Fume,
gotcha.
which is the largest accessories distributor in Canada.
Hmm.
So because they had that distribution network, it made sense for me to combine forces with them and then just pump out cannabis products into their distribution network.
Amazing.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up here. And the other thing I wanted was before at Liberty, I made 90 different SKUs that were on market as well,
Right.
going across all product classes like edibles, topicals, tinctures, pretty much everything. But what I found, like my real passion, where it really lies, is in concentrates and inhalable extracts. So
Gotcha.
really, not even all inhalable extracts. I'm a purist as well, so I wanted it to be as clean as possible.
Hmm.
So not even like BHO and things like that. I wanted to go for rosin and CO2 extraction. At the time, CO2 extraction was not really something that produced a premium product.
Right.
And at the time, it was pretty much like widely believed that CO2 extraction can never produce a full spectrum extract
Gotcha.
or something that tasted well. So
Right.
like I took that as like honestly, I saw that as a challenge. Like yes, no one believes it can be done, but in
Watch
theory, it
me.
can be done. Exactly. So
hold my
it's like
hold my
watch me.
joint.
So that's exactly what happened there. I was working with a free at the time. Everyone was saying CO2 is not going to work. You have to distill everything.
Right.
I was like, no, distillation seems like it's a little bit too aggressive. Like
Hmm.
by the time I've distilled the oil, it doesn't feel like I'm smoking a joint anymore.
Exactly.
So if I'm smoking it and it doesn't feel right, like it's not giving me the satisfaction I'm looking for, that means I've refined it too far.
Right.
So that's when I was like, okay, I need to take a step back. Distillation's going too far. I need to
Hmm.
figure out how to keep more of those cannabinoids, more of those terpenes, more of those flavonoids in the oil to get that well-rounded high that's more similar to smoking a joint than those distillate pens I'm smoking.
Right. So if you're compared to like food, this is like eating clean food as versus super processed food.
Exactly. What like pretty much everything we're like if you want to the easiest way to describe this is like with a drink. What
Right.
we have on the market today is pretty much all flavored vodka.
Yep.
We've got lime vodka, we've got cherry vodka, we've got blueberry vodka, we've got raspberry vodka, but it's all vodka at the end of the day,
Yeah.
which is what distillate products really are.
Right.
What we're missing is what I consider the wine of cannabis, which is that full extract where you actually take the flavor of the weed itself, and
Hmm.
that's the flavor you're experiencing in the final product.
Right.
A lot of the time, what people are doing is they're just blowing the terpenes out, blowing the flavonoids out. They're killing the flavor that originally came with the weed and are just adding something else on top.
Right.
That's like for me, that's kind of doing the weed disservice. Like if that's the case, I should only be running cheap outdoor trim. I should never be using premium quality flower, which is actually what I always prefer to use,
Right.
because all the flavors I'm incorporating into my pens and into my product are coming from the cannabis itself.
And I definitely noticed that when I tried the orange cookies, the TR signature one, because I tried other pods and I noticed it was just like the taste. I'm like, what is this? It tastes like artificial, and it wasn't. I don't know. There was something that I'm like, eh.
It's like perfume.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, like perfume. And then I tried the orange cookie ones, and I've tried the gauge. I think a pre-roll of that same strain before, so I
Yep.
knew the profile, I knew how it smoked. And then I tried it, and I'm like, yo, okay, okay, now I see what you were talking about. And
Yeah.
then you started popping up, and even just the branding, the way you guys are carrying your Instagram, and like I'm a photographer, so I'm like that's totally my alley, the whole visual stuff. And then I try the product and I'm like, oh, okay, so they're flexing here, but like, look, this looks pretty, which I've seen it before, but now I'm tasting it. I'm like, okay, they really know what the hell they're doing.
So
So,
honestly,
dude,
like I
yeah,
would I would say like it was a pretty big journey to get to orange cookies,
right,
and that's like my crown jewel product right now is what I call it, because from the first extract I've made to being
Mhm.
able to create something like orange cookies was a 10-year journey for me.
Oh, I can imagine.
And like I look at a lot of other LPs who started making vapes like a year or two ago. I'm like, okay, it's not gonna like you can't compare your product to what I'm making because like the amount of work that went into doing this is not the same. It's not like let me scrub this oil clean and make something that works for any strain. When you make something
Exactly.
like orange cookies, it's like making a really nice wine, and you got to adapt the whole process to the input material.
Well, not
It's not
just
like
you're the chef, right? You're the guy that's put in all the years of learning how to do it. It's not just like look at a recipe and whip something and hope that it tastes the same. Like you know
oh
what you're
no.
doing.
hmm I actually went through about 2 years where I would try 5 or 6 different pens that were extracted in different methods every day.
Wow.
And that's how I built up my palate to be able to recognize where we go wrong, what's good, what's not. So like
So you're
when
pretty much like Heisenberg, right? This was Breaking Bad. You're the
yeah,
Heisenberg
the
of
Breaking Bad Heisenberg. Remember us
yes,
chemists know Heisenberg for something else too?
right.
He came up with the uncertainty principle for quantum mechanics.
hmm Love it.
Great chemist, physicist actually.
Yeah. Um, bring it back. I want to bring it back a little bit into your teenage life. What got you interested into science? What kind of type of teenager were you?
Definitely a free spirit.
Yep.
um, Difficult to control. I had a lot of issues in school.
hmm
Um, but I was lucky that like my dad was in the industry he was in, and he actually didn't have a lot of time for me. So what would happen is like I'd get picked up from school, I'd get dropped off at my dad's factory, and he wouldn't have time for me. So I'd just run around the factory, go into the lab, go check out the production floor. So I actually got to like my playground was a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant growing up.
That's pretty cool.
So I got to learn a lot there. And I honestly like because of that, it's why I can do what I'm doing today.
So it
Just
was
like
the environment you were put in that inspired you and kind of you were able to have all the tools to play and be like test it in a way and be like, oh my God, this is really cool. I think I can see myself doing this.
I mean, at the time I couldn't play with it. It was like very expensive, very
Right,
sensitive
right.
equipment. But at least I got to see it. I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
to understand how it worked, and like being
Cool.
able to see things from like a practical perspective like that
hmm
allows you to like understand things in a very different way. I think.
Right. Yeah, you're right in the trenches since really young, so that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
That's amazing. In university, how was your journey in university? Were you a really good student? Were you like,
Okay, so my first year was terrible.
yeah,
I pretty much got dismissed in my first year because I didn't want to be there. I
right.
didn't want to be in school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I pretty much wanted to like surf, scuba dive, and rock climb all the time.
Okay.
Um, so I was like, why go to school? I just want to live in a shack on the beach and just go climb and
Right.
scuba dive all the time. Obviously, that's not how things played out.
hmm
But my first year, I was dismissed. I got a zero point 0.6 GPA.
Nice.
I don't even know how that's possible,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Wow.
wrote an appeal letter, went to the dean, got myself instated again, and then I signed up for pretty much all hard sciences after that.
hmm
And I realized that's where I actually excel. So I did organic chemistry 1 and 2. I did physical chemistry, Calc 1, Calc 2, statistics. So when I took that course load, then I pretty much like my GPA went from a zero point 0.6 to a 3.9.
Nice.
So I realized like my brain works very well with sciences and math,
hmm
and I can't write for shit.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't write for shit either. That's why I went into visual arts.
Mhm.
And I couldn't do the
So
math.
so when I realized that, I figured like focus on financial economics and
hmm
sciences, mainly chemistry.
Right.
And after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing throughout school. Once I realized what I was good at.
Right.
So after that, being in chemistry also and being a huge stoner,
hmm
every time I'd learn something new, every time I'd learn a new extraction method, I'd be like, oh, I wonder if I try this on weed, what would I get? So
Right.
all throughout my chemistry years, I was doing that, trying different solvents, trying different extraction methods, trying different ways of separating the trichomes from the plant material. And at that time, it was all a hobby. I never really showed anyone what I was doing. It was
Right.
just like, let me see this, and then let me try to smoke it. And I'd come up with really cool stuff to smoke, but it was all for myself.
You're writing those amazing hits and those albums, and nobody ever heard a demo. That's how I can see this.
Well, at the time, no one wanted to listen to music, or at least I thought that's how it
Right,
was,
right,
right?
right, right.
Like I like to listen to the songs I was writing, but I
Yeah,
didn't think anyone wanted to listen to them at the time, so I didn't feel the need to share them.
gotcha.
And then eventually I went and did my MBA, and while I was doing my MBA, I worked for Metro,
Okay.
and that's when they started extracting, and I was like doing the finance for them, and I was like, look, you guys are extracting for so much money, like this is not efficient, it's very expensive, like I'm doing this in my kitchen and I'm getting better results.
Right.
So that's when I was like, okay, I think I need to leave the finance side and move over to the ops side. Since like I know the
Gotcha.
chemistry, no one's doing it yet. And like I saw a huge opportunity for vapes back then.
Right.
And that was about 6 years ago. No one was really talking about vapes. There was a few vapes on the black market,
Well,
but they
there's
were all
also
trash.
this whole scare of people getting into health problems in the US because of all the
Exactly.
vape. So even this year when I started doing my Hydro High reviews, all the reviews, I started with flour, and then I'm like, oh, I wonder about the vapes. But then I had that kind of fear too. I'm like, are they really safe? Like I don't know enough. But then I figured in Canada they're being more strict with that. But okay,
So when I started making vapes, it was before all of that. There was no scare yet,
right,
but it was mostly like carrier oils, PG, based vapes with shatter mounted into it.
gotcha.
So like I tried one of those. The convenience factor was amazing.
Hmm.
Like the fact that I could carry that with me everywhere,
Right,
walk into the bathroom, take a puff, and come back out.
exactly.
Like that was where I saw the real value.
Right,
But at the same time, every time I smoked it, I felt like shit. I felt like I was destroying my lungs.
right,
So it really started as like before I even saw all these articles, I was like, this is amazing. There's definitely something here, but this is not the right way to make it.
hmm,
So 6 years ago, I started working on vapes and trying to figure out how to actually do a single source vape.
okay,
So by that I mean additive free.
right,
Nothing goes into it other than what's produced from cannabis.
right,
And the idea behind that, the reason why I wanted to do that is because I was smoking that dry herb vaporizer
hmm,
and I felt perfectly fine after, which meant I can vaporize everything in cannabis
right,
and my lungs don't hurt. But when I smoke that pen, disposable pen with the oil in it, my lungs feel like I did something really bad to them.
right,
So how do I get that pen with the oil in it to act the same way that a dry herb vaporizer works?
right.
And the idea was, how do I make sure that my oil contains nothing other than what can be vaporized in a
Hmm.
dry herb vaporizer?
What are
Which means,
the temperature differences between the herb and the temperature that you need the vape to work at?
so the actual atomizer of the vape pen does not go as high as a dry herb vaporizer's heating element. But it's
Okay.
because the dry herb vaporizer's heating element is trying to heat a much bigger volume,
Hmm.
meaning the plant material as well as the oil.
Right.
And it also needs to, like, it's not making direct contact with the product.
Gotcha.
It's heating up air, which is then flowing through the product, which is then vaporizing what you're trying to get out of it.
Cool.
Whereas the oil vaporizers, they make direct contact with the oil. The oil hits a heating element and evaporates when it hits it.
Gotcha. So you're kind of cooking the oil and then you're getting the fumes out of it.
Exactly. Different mechanisms of operation.
Right, right. Gotcha.
But the idea is the vapor should contain the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been working towards.
Right.
So if you hit orange cookies in a dry herb vaporizer
Hmm.
and you hit my pack spot, it should taste pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. That's what kind of like blew my mind because it was the first pod or extract that I'm like, this doesn't taste artificial. It tastes like the cannabis. The high was like just smooth and it didn't kill my throat, and it's just like I just wanted to keep hitting it because it tasted
Yep.
so good.
Exactly. That's the whole point, right? It's something that you can keep hitting all day.
Yeah.
If you try that with a distillate with botanical terpenes in it, you're going to wake up the next morning and you're going to feel some inflammation in your lungs. If you hit
Right.
this all day and you finish this pod in a day, you'll wake up the next morning feeling fine.
Well, I even just by doing sessions, like heavy sessions, like you'll notice on a regular like 510 that has the botanical terpenes and whatever, the additives, you can't like it just starts kind of irritating as
Exactly.
the other one. I'm like, whatever, you just keep, you're fine.
Yep. And with the amount of weed I smoke, like that's what it was for me, right? Like
Right,
I'm doing this out of selfish reasons. I'm doing this
right.
for myself before I'm doing it for anyone else. I
Well,
smoke enough
you're a
weed.
consumer, so you're kind of
Yes.
you're that's a good thing. You're the perfect hybrid in the sense that you have both worlds. It's not a lot of people that are, I guess, in this industry manufacturing the stuff. They're not even stoners themselves, so
Yes,
they don't know. Like you can sell something if you haven't tried it or you don't know what the consumer is actually expecting and like. So that's the beauty, and that's why that was, I guess, the love that I noticed in the product, because like because you're a consumer yourself. Kind of like me
exactly.
doing my reviews. I'm doing it from an aspect of I'm expecting and I'm talking about it as I'm a consumer, but I also have the knowledge from being a bud tender. So I'm kind of fusing those two.
Hmm.
And I was also interested in bringing you in because now this is like all the stoners are gonna geek out with this. So
Awesome.
okay,
Yeah,
so
I honestly like don't believe anyone can make a good product if they're not using it. Because
yeah,
a big part of my journey was mostly trial and error. It's
right,
try making something, taste it, it doesn't taste right. How do I make it better every single time?
gotcha.
And that's how we continuously always improve too. Like I tried the orange cookies, and now I know I want to make something better than that. And
Hmm.
I'm out there hunting for strains that can give me something better than orange cookies.
Right. Are you, which LPs are you do you have like collaborations set with, or are you like open to kind of figure out
I'm
pretty
open
much
to anyone.
so any
Um,
strain that you're like this is amazing, we gotta test this
yes,
out.
then I'll go after it. Like it really, the strain drives everything for me. I find the strain first, and then we
Hmm.
try to get it.
Okay. I saw that you guys just announced you have a 510 from Fume. What strain is
Hmm.
in there?
So that would be the Jack Hayes.
Nice. So is this
We actually made three 510s.
okay? Which producers Jack Hayes are you using?
7 acres.
Okay, yeah, I've tried their Jack Hayes.
It's
Nice.
pretty
Okay.
clean. It's one of the cleaner ones. So yeah, that was a great product to work with.
Sweet. I'm excited about those. Okay, tell me your kind of your journey when you started at Humble and Fume, and then switching to Fume Labs.
So Fume Labs pretty much started as soon as I joined.
Okay.
So the idea was, from what I understand, Humble and Fume got an investment, um, and as part of that investment, they were going to build out a extraction company, which they brought me in to build out.
Right. So you're the co-founder with them to build
Yes.
Fume Labs. So
Mhm.
Fume Labs, and then Fume Extracts is just
An offshoot of Fume Labs. So Fume
gotcha.
Extract is our consumer-facing brand.
Yep.
Fume Labs also actually does a lot of contract manufacturing. So like we do the 48 North products, we do the
Yep.
Superette products. There's a bunch of brands out there that I've made as well.
Gotcha. That's the other one that I wanted to mention because I tried the 48 North, the Day Trip, and the Moonlight one. Those were the other two that I'm like, okay, why are these so much better than all of these other ones and the price point too? Like I tried those 48
Honestly,
one, dude, so
it's
good.
experience. Like it's the botanical. So those 48 North ones are botanical terpenes. So
Hmm.
I think they taste amazing.
Yeah.
It's the limiting factor there is how much of it can I smoke in one sitting.
Yeah.
Right, with the orange cookies, I can actually run through an entire pod in one sitting.
Yeah, yeah, for
With
sure.
with the day trip, I can probably smoke like 5 6 puffs, and then I
Hmm.
need to take a break.
Yeah.
That's the main difference between the two. But the cool thing about doing botanical terpenes in a distillate is one, I can get a much higher level of consistency. So it's always going to be exactly the same product. It's not strain dependent. I have that
Right.
flavor profile. I can make it with any strain
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
it's manufactured, right?
Right.
And then the second thing about it is, because the price point of flower has been dropping so fast, and like
Hmm.
there's all these outdoor grows,
Yep.
the price of distillate's been dropping very quickly on the wholesale market too.
Yeah, I
So what
noticed
we're
that.
going to see is some very heavy price like compression in that segment. These
Cool.
products are supposed to get very cheap soon.
That's good.
So I think that's the real advantage there.
Awesome. So how long have you been now at Fume Labs?
2 years since we actually started. So we started in May of 2018, I believe.
Hmm. That's amazing.
Sorry, 2019. 2019.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think is next in your journey with Fume Labs and Fume Extracts?
I mean, the rosin's a big thing. I love solventless products.
Hmm.
Dabbing, I think, is the future of consuming cannabis. Like when I tried to vape for the first time, I was like, okay, this is amazing. It gives me like a much better way of consuming cannabis. But when I
Hmm.
dabbed, I was like, okay, now I'm really experiencing the full flavor profile of what I'm smelling in the plant. And this is the only way I've experienced so far that gives me that like super clean vapor,
Right.
incredible flavor, and amazing high at the same time. Like I feel like with a vape, you never really get to the same high and same effect as flower. There's always like that little bit missing. You're never getting all the way there. But with a dab, Oh, you get all the way there, and it's a better experience too. So, like
I
to me, that's the future.
Yeah, I literally just last week tried. I bought one of those Yokan vape pens to do extracts, and I just tried like a live resin from another producer,
Mhm.
and that was my first experience, and that's what I noticed. I'm like, oh, this that was the missing key. The Because yeah, I've always hit the vapes, and I'm like, it's almost there, but I always need to go and smoke something else or hit
Yep.
my dry herb vape to like top it off. And then I tried the live resin, and I'm like, oh, and it was a sativa one. It felt clean. It felt like it went to my brain right away. It was this whole flavor town as well. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
like this. So I tried the live resin, the 1 gram, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Now I try some shatter, and now I see the whole flavor profile.
Yes.
Now I'm
And
really
then what you
excited
want
to
next
try.
is
Yeah.
rosin. Yes. So that's the creme de la creme. That's where you don't get any better than that.
Oh my god.
Rosin is like the equivalent. So the live resin is extracted with butane and propane mixture.
Okay.
So it's a hydrocarbon extraction. It's a solvent extraction.
Yeah.
Technically, that's pretty dirty.
Right.
Rosin is the equivalent of cold pressed olive oil. It's extra virgin olive oil.
Right.
Nothing touches it. It goes into a filter and it gets pressed.
Nice.
Water, ice, and filtration and pressure. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's as clean as you get with extraction. It's obviously it's always going to be more expensive because the yields are low and like you can never scale it up. It's always small batch. It's a specialty product.
Hmm.
But this is like the vintages of weed. This is where you like, if you really want to experience the most amazing flavors out of cannabis and have the smoothest experience, this is the way to go.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be my next one. But for that one, I know I need to get a rig. For now, I'm like waiting for those because I am gonna be moving city, so I don't want to
Where
invest
are
in
you
a
moving
rig.
to?
The other side of the country, I'm still not announcing exactly where it's gonna be part of another video series, but I'm moving another side of Canada for sure.
Oh, nice.
I'm announcing it in like a month. And also too because I kind of like what you mentioned, and that's why I'm kind of happy that I did this with you. You're very inspiring to the whole thing that you said. You saw a gap and you wanna go be the boss. You wanna be the innovator in that
Mhm.
sense. Because I saw also a gap within like my photography and filmmaking in the cannabis industry, like with a lot of dispensaries their photography could be better. So I want to kind of either help them out, get their Instagrams and everything bumping because it just helps the industry and it helps break the stigma. Uh, but also it's I don't know, I just by working in the industry, like I want to work with producers. I want to work with anybody that's in the industry because everybody's really cool. We all have this shared passion that is helping people heal in a way
Mhm.
from um, from just pain, from just being able to cope with anxiety and depression, even though it's not the medicine that cures it. It helps your brain get in a better state, in a flow state. And me being an artist, like cannabis has helped me so much to like kind of tap into things and keep my self doubt very low and just like go for it in a way.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like cannabis has not only has been an amazing experience for me from like a work perspective, but I
Hmm.
did start in the medical side first.
Right,
And having honestly started my career in the pharmaceutical industry, and back then I did sales for oncology products, so like for cancer patients.
right.
It was pretty depressing job. And then moving over into cannabis after that, it's so much more fulfilling. It's so much more rewarding because like, yes, we have people who are terminal patients back then, but at the same time, the product we're giving them had such an improvement in the quality of life they had that it was so fulfilling to do that work. And
Right.
like cannabis to me is still that like that's really where it all started. It is medicine. It is something that improves your quality of life. It is
Hmm.
something that we should look at as a supplement. Like if you're stressed, like the lives we live today are pretty stressful.
Yep.
And like there's so much pressure on people, especially younger people right now. I find cannabis is something that really has helped a lot of people just cope with that pressure.
Especially this year. Literally, that's how I even ended up
Yes.
here because I was working more in the plant-based food industry and just like B2B kind of photography stuff. But then when COVID hit, I had to everything got canceled, and then I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be home. I'm gonna be smoking weed. How about I just start building a portfolio on cannabis? Let's see how cute I can make this bud look, oh look, there's vapes. The packaging is kind of boring, but let me do something cool with the cartridge and the vape pen. So I started just building the portfolio. I started doing the reviews, and then I worked at a dispensary for a few months, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome. So actually, cannabis was such a catalyst for me to kind of start this new journey, and it's one of the reasons I'm also like moving across the country just to also explore. And I want to go to like the U.S. and just I don't know. I see it getting legal everywhere in the world very very shortly. And it's just gonna open a world for everybody to explore cannabis everywhere. Like I want to go back to Colombia when it's legal and like see
Oh,
what the hell's
honestly,
happening there,
Colombia is amazing. I went there
right?
last year for work. I
Oh,
saw a
okay.
cannabis farm there.
Dude, okay, I was there last year in September because I just went back for the first time after 15 years of being here. So,
Oh
what was your
wow.
experience in Colombia and tell me about the cannabis in Colombia? What's going on there?
Honestly, so I went there with a Fria. I don't know if you've heard about the whole like issues they had in Colombia and everything, but it was back when that project was getting started with Colcana.
Right.
And honestly, seeing the cannabis culture there, seeing how easily it grows in the coffee region, and
Hmm.
like the quality that you can get for the
Perfect
cost that you're
weather,
growing it.
right? Perfect weather
Exactly.
there.
I mean, I honestly, I think like when the international borders open up for trade for cannabis,
Hmm.
Colombia is definitely going to be one of the leaders.
Hopefully, that will help the country to pretty much get out of the economical problem that's been living for
Yes.
years since it was pretty much created. Okay, that's awesome. That's a little tip that I didn't even know. That's amazing. Thank you for that. That's cool.
No problem.
Amazing. All right. I think that's all I got for here. If you're down to give us a little tour of the facilities, that would be amazing.
Yep.
That would be
Give
a
me a
good
minute.
way to close this podcast. Um, I just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this, dude. This is so cool.
Oh, anytime. Happy to
I
do it.
I learned so much. Hopefully, one day when the COVID is kind of gone, I would love to come by and actually check it out
Yeah,
in
that would be
person.
amazing for an in-person tour. Yes.
Yes, we can do a vlog, a video, or something, and that'll be really cool for people to see.
All right. Be ready. Second.
Yeah, no
Okay.
worries. All right, guys. So Talal is gonna give us a little tour of Fume. This is an exclusive on the podcast.
So hopefully you guys have good service throughout the
Yeah.
facility.
Huh?
All right.
Oh, oh. Did we lose him? Huh. So you mentioned the
So it's actually pretty
service.
small compared to
There we go.
most other LPs.
Yep.
Um, but what I did was pretty much like I built 7 facilities before this one, and every single time I got them to produce the same amount, so they had the same capacity, but I was able to get them significantly smaller by just like rearranging them.
Gotcha.
So Fume Labs in this facility, we do two big main types of extraction. The first one is solvent extraction, which uses CO2. And then the second one is solventless extraction, which is what I told you we use for making the rosin.
Right.
And that's using water, ice, and pressure. That's it. So I'm just gonna need to get downed up real quick in here.
I like the new shirts too.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. I'll see if I can get you one.
That would be sweet. I'll do a photo shoot.
Yeah, these actually just arrived on Friday night.
Amazing.
So we're pretty excited. Team's getting them today.
See, guys, this is to show you just follow your dreams, do what you love, and then the universe just puts you in situations that no other way you would have gotten access to.
I couldn't agree with that more. Like, just seriously, do what you love, and things will just come after that.
Don't even worry about the money. The money just chases you because you're so busy just doing what you love that the money is just like, oh well, you need money too. You're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yep. And honestly, that's what my dad always told me growing up: is find something you love and do that, and then the money will just follow.
Damn. See, I wish I had that advice because then my
That
life would
was
have.
great advice.
See, my dad never told me any of that. So But then again, if I would have probably listened to an advice like that, I would have not been here. So nice codes. Ooh, I like this.
All right.
You guys are getting a nice look into the process of working at a cannabis producer of extracts. So if you guys are listening only in the podcast, you're gonna have to come and watch the video because you're missing out. So just saying.
All right. We're ready to go.
Awesome.
Okay, so here, let me just switch you guys around so you can see what I'm saying. Starts right here. All right, so the first room we have
Mm-hmm.
is that we're gonna see is where we made our rosin, our black cherry punch.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I need to try soon.
So there's nothing going on here. We ice this batch,
Right.
but when I say like everything is just washed, we pretty much take the weed, we wash it in this tank here with water and ice.
Right.
It comes out of this little nozzle here where it goes into these guys, which are filled with filter bags.
Right.
And then we end up with what's called bubble hash, which we then put into these presses and juice the trichomes so that we get the resin out of it.
Nice.
So that's this room right here.
Cool.
Now we're gonna go into where I separate the terpenes out.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you guys have seen terpenes before.
Probably. I don't think I have. No.
Okay, so this freezer is at negative 40 degrees.
Okay. Ooh. Amazing.
These are terpenes. So this is minus 40.
Okay.
Usually everything at that temperature would be solid ice.
Of course.
Right?
That's
Terpenes
incredible.
are a gas at room temperature.
Okay.
So when we get them down to negative 40, they become a liquid.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
So you can see there's cloudy stuff in there.
Yeah.
That cloudy stuff is ice.
Okay.
That's the water that's frozen in there.
Right.
Here's another batch right here. So you can see how clear this is, right?
Right.
Let me see if I can find you some low-grade terpenes. So this is what they look like from other people. So when you freeze them, they solidify.
Okay.
They're brown. That's not good.
Right.
This is what happens when you're not careful with the extraction. So terpenes are like bananas and apples. Think about like when you open a banana.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you open a banana and you expose it to air, it starts turning brown, right?
Yep.
So terpenes are the same way. If we pull
Gotcha.
them out and we expose them to any air, they actually start oxidizing and they turn brown.
Right.
So that's why we pull them under complete vacuum with no air at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're able to crush them into negative 40 degrees Celsius where they don't oxidize and degrade.
Amazing. I didn't know that. Oh my God, this is like college. I'm learning. I love this. Cannabis college.
All right.
Woohoo.
So once we've extracted our terpenes, and we do that using a solventless process,
Yeah.
and that's the component that's impossible to pull with CO2.
Right.
So if anyone's saying they're doing CO2 or ethanol extraction, there's no way they can have a full spectrum oil because they've lost the terpenes that I just showed you.
Gotcha. Okay. This is kind of like this is organic, grass-fed, but it's just something that's in whatever. It's the same as the GMO, whatever. They're just using it as. Okay. Gotcha.
So here we're in our next room. This is our extraction room.
Cool.
So this is where we actually pull all the cannabinoids out.
Gotcha.
So we got, this guy is a CO2 extractor.
Nice. Dude, you are the
I'll get you
Heisenberg
guys
of
upstairs.
cannabis. This is like I'm
Thanks.
watching Breaking Bad. Like, but legal. Like, good. Oh my God, this is so amazing.
So we've got two columns here. So this guy is a 100-liter column. It fits about 20 kilos of cannabis at a time.
Okay.
And we can run that in about 8 hours in an 8-hour shift.
Right.
So we fill the cannabis through the top.
Yeah.
See, we have a little gauge here.
Yeah.
Goes up to about 2,000 PSI in pressure. That's really, really high pressure.
Right.
And what that does is it changes CO2 into what's called a supercritical state, a
Okay.
supercritical fluid, which is basically a gas and a liquid at the same time. So it's able to extract cannabinoids very efficiently that way.
Huh.
Comes out of here. This is our collection column. And then actually you can see how the oil comes out. There's a little
Right.
spill
Yeah.
here.
Gotcha.
And then we take that oil and we winterize it. So the next step is how we remove the wax from it. So remember with the vape scare, there was like the vitamin E acetate was a big one.
Yeah.
The cannabis plant itself produces vitamin E acetate.
Oh, okay.
So what we do is we want to get that out of there.
Right.
So we do a process called winterization, which gets rid of all of the fats and the oils that precipitate at a lower temperature.
Gotcha.
So you can see this oil is really thick because there's wax in it that we're about to filter out.
Right.
You can see it's mixing
So
right now.
that's all the stuff that you don't want to smoke.
Yeah, so this is both. This is the stuff we want to smoke and the stuff we don't want to smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you filter out the stuff that you don't want to smoke.
Exactly, and we filter out the stuff we don't want to smoke out of this.
Right.
So we got 4 of these. So you can see different oils.
Right. How long does it take to do the process?
So the refining process in this step takes 3 days.
3 days? Okay.
Yep. And then from here, we go into the last room. So out of that step, we actually have our winterized oil. So orange cookies is finished over there.
Okay, cool.
Next step, is we come into here. And this is where we do our distillation. So these are our distillation units. So the winterized oil goes in here. We actually don't have the reservoir on right now. But there's a little tank. Actually, you can see it. It's right here.
Okay.
We fill this with oil. That sits right here. And then this thing distills it. So it basically scrubs out any flavor, any color that's left in the oil to leave only behind the THC and compounds that are similar to THC.
Gotcha.
So this is why you're experiencing that high that doesn't give you the full effect. Right? Because we've scrubbed everything clean in this step. So you've completely lost the entourage effect once we've done this.
Right. Okay. But this is because it's more cost effective, right?
Yes. And the reason, actually winterized oil is more cost effective in processing terms.
Gotcha.
Because it's less steps, right? But the reason why this is more cost effective is because I can buy the cheapest weed that's really low quality and still get a decent quality distillate out of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
If I put garbage into a winterized oil process, it'll come out garbage on the other side.
Right. So pretty much this is kind of like an upscaler from like and like let's say TV terms. This grabs a source that's HD and upscales it to 4K in a way, even though the source might have not been as good. As the winterize, if the source is not good, it's always gonna look like the source is.
Exactly. The other one, the source can the source can be trash, but it'll always be the good product in the end.
Right.
So this is really the way I look at this is the recycling program.
Right.
All the weed that's not good enough to be smoked as flower or made into winterized oil goes into distillation.
Is this because they were getting stuck with just pounds and pounds of weed that nobody wanted to smoke? So they're like, what the hell are we going to do with all this?
Exactly. So you're going to see very cheap weed, distillates on the market because of that.
Yeah, I noticed that now some, what brand was it? It's part of Oxley, I think. B40, they're coming up with a line now at $30 for a 0.4, which is
It's a race to the bottom.
Right.
Really, it's all the inventory of cannabis that's sitting around from all these big outdoor grows, from all these LPs that made weed that no one wants.
Right.
That's low grade. That's all going to become distillate.
Well, because I saw it even in dispensaries. We're not able to push a lot of stuff that when they first opened, they started getting a lot of it, hoping they was gonna sell, and now it's just getting dry and nobody wants it.
Exactly. I mean, you can see just from experience. Try my product versus a lot of the other products out there. They're not the same, and it's because most other LPs right now are looking at extraction as a recycling program,
right? Or
as this is where I'm putting all the stuff that's not good anymore to make vape pens with it. Whereas the way we look at it is we want to make good vape pens, so we're gonna use good input to make it.
And
It's
that's
not
why that's why they're using the botanical terpenes just to mask
to cover up
with
whatever's
flavor.
not good
Like,
in there.
oh yeah, this is not good weed, but it tastes like fruity whatever. As
Exactly. There.
your taste is like, no, this fruity taste is the actual cannabis taste that's in the plant.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, damn it. See, I didn't know that. See, that just
So one's a big shortcut.
totally changed my perspective because like I was reviewing some of this 510s and it was I never noticed that consistency. It was just like this one's okay, this one's like this one tastes like perfume and like there was no good consistency and the price ranges like I was spending more money but I wasn't getting a better product either. I'm like, "What? Okay, so
Hmm.
who's controlling this?" Like, okay, that's very interesting. Well, I'm definitely gonna see which dispensary has your Fume 510 because that has to be my next review for sure.
I'm not even sure if we've shipped it out yet.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wherever it is, I'm gonna be waiting.
I'll let you know as soon as we do, though.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that totally now it makes sense because now I'm like I taste another vape and I'm like, ah, now I see what he's talking about, this cheap weed thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I can now
Now
you
you
just
like now that you know what it
you
is.
broke the what you call the uh rose colored glasses.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't even want to smoke that now. Oh my God, that is so weird. Now I taste it, I'm like, oh, now I can taste exactly what you're saying. It's, yeah,
Well, it's the same things that are used to like make perfumes is what people are putting into this. Botanical terpenes
right,
are how we make perfumes. It's how you flavor this soap. It's how you put smell into this soap.
right.
The
Yeah,
same limonene source that's
right.
used in dishwasher soap is the same thing that a lot of LPs are using in their pens right
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stop doing this 510s and just do live resins and whatever you guys put out.
now.
Exclusive fume extracts only reviews. Jeez. Oh my God, that makes
Like
so
I was
much
saying
sense.
before, like for me, it was selfish reasons, right? Like I didn't want to smoke the stuff that other people were putting out, so I had to do it myself.
God bless you, dude. We need more people like. Well, thank you for doing this. Like that's why you're being so successful, and you're just gonna keep growing and at a rapid rate because you guys are putting out the stuff that nobody had the balls and like the time or even want like passion to try to get it out.
I think honestly it comes down to passion because everyone thought it was gonna be about money. Everyone thought it was gonna be like easy thing to sell all this stuff. But I think like what they missed the what where they missed was they didn't think about like it was people are gonna smoke whatever we give them to smoke
Yeah,
was kind of the mentality back then.
right.
It wasn't like no smokers want something better than what they're used to on the black market. They want an improvement. Like
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the people making the decisions were not consumers, so they didn't put the consumer ahead. It wasn't the
Gotcha.
consumer like the decisions were not made for the benefit of the consumer.
Right.
They were made to make investors as much money as possible, and
Gotcha.
that's really still the way a lot of LPs are working.
Right. Well, not anymore when somebody like you is kind of breaking that mold, and now they're going to be, customers are going to obviously decide. The market always decides that the market's always right. So now, even from
Yes.
this, knowing the background of your product, seeing what actually goes into them, and literally by you telling me this, seeing the process, and now grabbing this cheap one that I have here, like literally just tasting it, I'm like, now I can my brain is like, oh, remember how good that orange cookies was though? Why is this so crap? Now it makes sense. And
Now you know.
now clients and customers, and everybody is gonna see this, now they're gonna go test your stuff, test the cheap one, and they're like, oh shit, okay. Okay. So you literally are making this demand now that everybody's gonna have to either step up to the game or lose.
Exactly. We're raising the bar. The days of this cheap distillate with botanical terpenes are done. We're
Well, like
calling everyone out on it.
this is gonna be in behalf of everybody. Thank
Thank you.
you. Dude, this is the perfect way to close this. I am so grateful and so happy for you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone, please make sure you follow Fume Labs, Fume Extracts on Instagram. Check out their websites. All the stuff will be on the show notes. Go make sure you go try if you're 19 plus. Make sure you try their live resin and their extracts. Everything that they put out amazing. You're literally gonna you're gonna taste it. You're gonna feel the difference. And once you try it, you can't go back. Like I'm literally like I have this brand new thing, and I'm like I don't even want to finish it now because I want to go and get now maybe another pot of the orange cookies because it's
Well,
so
you know,
good.
there's only 1,000 units left in the world right now.
Oh my god! I think down the street they have it.
I literally only made 10,000 units and that's it. And we're on
Oh.
the last 1,000 units right now.
Oh, okay. So it is. I see. I wasn't sure if it was a limited edition or not. So it was a
It was
limited.
everything I
Oh.
do, I'm gonna try to do as a limited edition
Okay.
if
Now
I
I know
can.
to suck up then on everything that I try. Amazing. Talal, thank you so much. Everyone, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check the video version of this so you can see the tour that we got from Fume Labs. Make sure you follow him on Instagram and make sure you stay tuned for upcoming episodes and check all the backlog of the other episodes. I'm on Instagram and on the website hyrolopez.com. Thank you so much, Talal. My pleasure. I hope to see you soon again, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much for today.
Likewise, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Hey, I hope everyone enjoyed that episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening, make sure you leave a review and you can support the podcast to keep it ad free by supporting on Anchor, Patreon, or by just sharing because sharing is caring. Thank you guys. See you guys on the next one. Peace.